So Tom Crane couldn't be here, and this is actually Tom Crane's presentation. So he made a video for me demonstrating the tools that he wanted to talk about, and I have a little script here to follow. So hopefully I can coordinate the two things together before I melt from the heat. So the topic of the talk is remixing IIIF content for web editorial. And really what we're showing is different ways of presenting IIIF resources that are perhaps not the sort of standard encapsulated book viewer. And we've seen some examples of that already today with CogApp's IIIF stories. And so I'm going to show two different use cases, and they're based around one of our tools, which is a manifest editor, and then various ways in which those tools have been used on projects. If I can get my... text up. So, a video should now play. So the first use case is a static site generator we built for Delft University. So this is an exhibition website where each exhibit in the exhibition is built from a IIIF manifest, but all of these cells you can see are IIIF canvases that might have multiple image annotations on them, and they can be drawn from different source manifests, but instead of being rendered in a viewer, they're rendered in a static website that you can then pop into the different interactive IIIF renditions. And there are individual canvases here that might have annotations that create a narrative journey through this canvas. So I'm popping from cell to cell here, just using the arrows in the bottom right. And in this case, the viewer is a IIIF-based static site. And we made this using a manifest editor. So we're looking at the manifest editor here, and this is a presentation API 3 manifest, and all of the text, the labels, the things you see in the furniture of the static site are being generated from the content that's on these manifest data, including in here. And here I'm adding some special behaviors that describe how the cell layout should work on the site. And I can pop it into a kind of grid view where I can get a preview of how this exhibit looks. I can see the canvas with its multiple image annotations. I can add text or labels or drag the canvases around or insert a new canvas. Each of these image annotations is a standard IIIF image annotation. But when we publish this to the site, the special behaviors that are in the manifest tell the static site generator how this should look on the screen and how it should be rendered in a viewer. So the manifest editor uses IIIF 3, Presentation API 3 manifests. Here it is here. It will play in a completely standard viewer, but if it's in the bespoke viewer, it will render the static site instead. So we've got an example here for the Victoria and Albert Museum, who have a widget in their CMS where they can add the UV or Spotify or SoundCloud, but they can also create, using the manifest editor, narrative journeys through IIIF content. So we have a single canvas here that has multiple annotations. You can see these as the orange boxes. And each annotation can have additional content. It can have an image, it can have text. There's a little WYSIWYG editor to edit that text. And when you create these annotations, you define an area of interest. You can define which region of the canvas should be in the viewport when you're viewing this particular annotation. And you can then add more text, you can add things. So when you see this embedded in the context of the site, so there's an example here on their site of a narrative journey through an image of an ocean liner, and as you click on the annotated points, it's changing the content that you can see and it's moving the viewport around. But the same manifest can be played in a different way, where as you scroll around, it's automatically synchronizing the annotations with what you can see in the viewport, so it's giving you a kind of guided tour through the object. Again, driven by the same manifest created using the same editing tool. Or in this example, we've got a static page, but when you mouse in, it'll automatically pop in a IIIF viewer, and when you mouse back out again, it returns back to the static page. You can then use the manifest editor to kind of reach into collections to tell stories with IIIF content. So in this example, we've loaded in the National Gallery of Art's highlight reel, and we're going to build a slideshow from these. So Tom, in this case, is flipping into slideshow mode in the manifest editor, and then he's going to add some additional content. So he can add in some text, he can say where that should appear on the screen, he can define its layout, he can then add in text, a legal notice, he can add in credits and text and so on. He can then go to the second slide, and maybe he wants to add in some kind of rich web copy that he's taken from somewhere else, and he wants that to appear below the image. And this is a standard IIIF manifest that we've converted on the fly to Presentation API 3, and then we're using the manifest editor to enrich it with content that gives you a different way through that material. And then when we see this in slideshow mode, this is what you can embed on the website. So as you step from canvas to canvas, it's adding in that additional content, but all of the original canvases are still intact, so it's still preserving the original IIIF manifest, but it's enriching it with new editorial material. And these can and Tom's bringing up the manifest here, so you can see this in a second. And you can preview the JSON. So you can see it's a Presentation API 3 manifest, just with some additional behaviors that say this should be a layout overlay, and it's on the left, and so on. Now, the V&A have made a number of different things using these tools. So there's an example here of micro mosaics, where there's a slideshow where it gives you a guide through these particular objects. You can pop it in, you can do pan and zoom and so on, while it retains the slideshow elements that were there originally. And this is a mobile view of the same content, where you can scroll vertically in a kind of classic way that you would in a mobile view. But when you pop one of these into full screen mode on the mobile, you get the slideshow information, and then you can swipe left and right to navigate through the slideshow. So it should transition seamlessly between the different modes that you can use the content and work perfectly well on a mobile. Here's some Caligat paintings, again, rendered in the same kind of way, with different pieces of annotated content on the screen, driving the slideshow, or similarly, there's some Islamic calligraphy where it does the same thing. So the manifest editor lets you remix IIIF content in a way that you can add narrative, you can have annotated zoom, you can have slideshow mode, and it's all driven off Presentation API 3 manifests. That's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt and Tom.